And welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung. Yes, it's back. I know. I said last time that I was actually going to do more guests on the show. That was like a month and a half ago, at least. It had to be even more than that, probably. But in any case, we are back, and I did bring a guest. It is my good friend Ron Canniff, who is the co-host of Pulse of Fins Nation, the live version of this show. Mr. Canniff, how are you, sir?
What's up? What's up?
Actually, your voice sounds fixed, sir. Like
Oh,
a little heads up for everybody who hasn't been paying attention to the pulse. For the past few shows, Ron's voice has been down here like this because of some funky mic settings or something.
trying to get with the ladies, trying to have a deep, sexy voice. No, it was something to do with the settings in StreamYard. Actually, is what it turns out. If you're saying it's fixed, by the way, I can't tell when I hear myself because I'm hearing myself directly. But I could tell when I went to listen a few days ago to the last show, and I was like, "Oh my god, this does sound terrible. I'll have to figure out how to fix it." So right before we hopped on, I messed with some mic settings. So hopefully, if you say it sounds better, that fixed it.
It does sound better. It does. Although now I'm curious, like, is there a way for me to change the audio on my mic and make myself sound like this? Maybe.
Well, if you go into settings and you choose audio, there are some few different options of echo cancellation, reduce background noise, stereo audio, all kinds of automatically adjust mic volume. I just unclicked everything. That's what I ended up doing because I had stuff clicked, it was from a different show I was trying to do before and blah blah. Anyway, that was real
Anyway.
uninteresting things to talk about.
I don't know. Funny stories happen. Life continues. Life goes on. Speaking of life, we may have gotten our head coach for life. Mike McDaniel has been given a contract extension, ladies and gentlemen, through 2028. I think it was originally reported by Jeff Darlington or Tom Pelissero. I don't know. Everybody always argues to say I was first, and it doesn't matter. The point
I'm
is,
pretty sure it was Darlington.
So, in any case, Darlington said it. Pelissero may have said that he said it. Doesn't matter. Mike McDaniel is our head coach for the next 4 years. And I think that this one is going to stick, Ron. We'll get into the details of everything in just a moment. But before that, we have to mention that this show is brought to you by prizepicks.com. Use the promo code 5, that's FIVE. And when you do so, you'll be able to make a $5 bet, and they will give you $50 of promo funds for having done that. So the promo's a little different now, but the investment is a lot smaller. So once again, it's just that much easier. They have free squares coming up. They have a whole bunch of discounts that they're giving out on a regular basis now. You don't always have to wait for Taco Tuesday. So Prize Picks is making it easier than ever for you to get in there and start making some money. So once again, use that promo code 5, that's FIVE, and when you put in a $5 bet, they will give you $50 of promotional funds when you sign up using that promo code. All right. So very interesting with Mike McDaniel, Ron. Do you know that he is the only coach in Miami Dolphins history besides Don Shula and Dave Wannstedt, of all people, to lead the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs in the first 2 years that he's been a coach?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I know that none of the coaches since Don Shula have done that. Jimmy Johnson didn't do it.
Jimmy Johnson did not do it.
Playoffs the first 2 years with Jimmy. I didn't realize that.
Nope.
Oh, besides Jimmy, that one's surprising. No, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I guess off the top of my head, I could go through the coaches we've had since Shula, but I'm sure I'd miss somebody somewhere. I'd have to think about it. You know what I mean? But it hasn't been a very good show. I know that Flores made it his last year, right? Adam Gase made it his first year and then did make it again. Philbin never made it. Wannstedt made it a couple years, but I guess
the first two.
Oh yeah, his first. That's right. You said Wannstedt. That was when we traded for Ricky Williams. I mean, Saban obviously didn't. I might have said Saban already. Pretty sure Cam Cameron didn't make the playoffs in the 1-15 season. Am I missing any head coaches since then? I think I named them all.
To actually make the playoffs, you mean?
No, I meant since Shula. I don't know that I think that was
well, since Shula,
all the coaches, right?
Since Shula, we had Jimmy Johnson from
Brana.
96 and yeah,
he made it the first year and then didn't make it again.
Right. And so if you want to count everybody, this is according to good old Wikipedia, the best source for all college students out there, I'm sure. Believe me, I've tried it. Don Shula, obviously. Jimmy Johnson was from 1996 to 1999. He had 3 playoff berths, not counting either the first one or the second one, which is why he's not on the list. Wanstad made it the first 2 years. Jim Bates was in 2004. I'm guessing Wanstad got fired halfway through the year or something. Nick Saban.
Right. We have the what do they call those coaches? The interim coaches too.
Yeah, the interim coaches.
That. Yeah, we had a few, more than one of those.
Yep. Nick Saban from 2000 to 2005 and 2006. Cam Cameron, that one horrific year.
Yep.
Tony Sperano, 2008 to 2011. Then he got fired. Todd Bowles did the rest of the year. Joe Philbin from 2012 to 2015. Joe Philbin got a contract extension and then was fired. Him and Sperano
that was a
both.
Fake one. Well, so was Sperano's. They were just fake, pretend to like, oh, it's last year. You got to hire some new coaching staff, but coaching staff don't want to come here if they know it's your last year and you're probably going to get fired. So here I'm going to pretend to support you. I mean, that's all that was. That's all basically. It was for both those guys. Honestly, that's just the truth.
Yep. And then after Joe Philbin, you had Dan Campbell, who is now the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And I don't know. Oh, no, excuse me, not the New Orleans Saints. He was with the Saints. He was Sean Payton's assistant. Yeah, then he went to Detroit.
Yeah, and then
he's the Detroit Lions
head coach in Detroit, which he's doing a phenomenal job, by the way.
He is, for real.
He would have been a better hire than Adam Gase. I believe it was between those two, correct?
Yes, it was.
Right?
He and Adam Gase interviewed, and Adam Gase came in with the promise of fixing Ryan Tannehill in 2016. They made the playoffs because of Jay Ajayi, and then they never got back.
Yeah.
So
yep. Because I remember I used to say that the J train, right? Know what they used to call him? Mm-hmm. Runs on gasoline. Yeah, it was really terrible. Sorry about that.
It was awful. And mind you, so many head coaches that Miami has had in the past, like they all got jobs after all is said and done. Like Todd Bowles is a defensive coordinator. No, he's a head coach right now of the Buccaneers.
Head coach in Tampa.
Yeah.
And I think he also had a shot for the Jets. So he had one interim shot, and he's had
he was the head coach for the Jets for a while.
He's a good coach. He's a good defensive coach, especially.
Yeah, he's a very good defensive coach. And Dan Campbell, obviously. Joe Philbin somehow still has a job. But Adam Gase.
Is he still an offensive line coach in Dallas or something?
Joe Philbin, currently, he is the senior offensive assistant for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, of all the people to have an offensive assistant, you would think that Joe Philbin would not be
Gase
high on that
out
list.
Of the league, man.
Adam Gase is gone.
Yeah,
I have not heard of Adam Gase.
The Jets fired him. He ain't nowhere to be found. If he's coaching anything, it's like high school football somewhere.
Like, he is so gone. Like, he's so gone, it's not even funny. Like, I bet you if I look, Wikipedia is going to be like, he just disappeared. Like, yeah, Wikipedia has no idea where he is. He's in high school. Is he doing anything? No, he's just gone. Bye. He's like, just bye.
He's staring at a floating taco.
At a floating taco somewhere. Like that's where he lived. They saw the floating taco video and got this man put into a psych ward. Like,
there you go.
He's just.
Since we're talking about it, do I get to tell my Adam Gase story really quick? 2 seconds. I know.
Sure, go for it.
You were kind enough to bring me and give me a shot to go talk to some players after. It was a scrimmage. Like, it was one of the scrimmage during training camp. So you were kind enough because you had the hookup to go there and talk to some players, interview some players. And we got to be in the press room after the scrimmage talking to the coach, and we had our little recorders, right? Actually, it doesn't matter that I don't have it with me here. It's somewhere. Oh, yeah, I do, actually. Not that anybody could see this, but here it is, right here. Here's the same exact recorder. So you're supposed to put it up on the podium, which I didn't know, right? Right where the coach is going to be, and he's coming. And so when I got up there last. There was like no space to put it. So I'm like, where do I put it? And I'm looking down. All of a sudden I look up. And so, mind you, the podium's a little taller than where I was standing. Plus, I'm not really the tallest person anyway. I'm like 5'8". So all of a sudden I'm trying to put it, and I look up. And I mean, 2 feet away is Adam Gase giving me those eyes, staring at me like, bro, who are you? And what are you doing? So, yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty embarrassing. I just put it somewhere and just fucking walked back. I didn't ask any questions.
Yeah, it's just like,
just
drop
my
it,
fun Adam Gase story. That's it.
Yeah, Adam Gase is a character, to say the least. But now, finally, the Brian Flores era. And for all the crap that we give the guy, listen, I'll give him this. The team was at least exciting. for a while when Flores was around. Fitzpatrick was unpredictable. You never knew what you were going to get. And I guess that was part of it, just knowing that there was no risk really, because this was the rebuilding era and we knew for a fact that we weren't going to make the playoffs. So let's just say, let's see what happens. So, and it was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I'll give him credit for that. I thought it was going to be
during that time he was trying to sabotage Tua so that he could trade for Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Well, Tua wasn't there the whole time though.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the first year when we started out looking like the worst team in the history of the NFL, and we won 5 of our last 9.
And we got Tua anyway.
I know that was an interesting season, and we beat the Patriots.
The Miami Miracle.
That was all very exciting. That was all great and well and good, but then we all know how it ended up afterwards. So enough of Flores.
And then now here we are. Mike McDaniel shows up in 2022. Immediately when he's on the plane, he gets on the phone with Tua and says, listen, forget all that stuff that you just were told. I'm going to build you up from the ground up, and I'm going to make you into something special. And Tua bought into it. And it worked, because ever since McDaniel got here, Tua has been a top 10, maybe even top 5 quarterback in the NFL. We are now entering year 3 of the Mike McDaniel era, and that was all it took. Steve, think about this. Mike McDaniel has shown, like tongue twisters. This is what happens when you work and then get on a podcast. He has shown so much potential, so much promise, just 3 years into his tenure, that Stephen Ross has already seen enough and given this man a 4-year contract extension. Yeah. Like he's already convinced. He has seen enough. He already knows in his mind, and whether you believe him or not, because I know that there are still people out there who look at McDaniel and think that he's just a nerd who doesn't know what he's really doing. And I understand he's not the typical tough guy head coach of the old days, and there are even some of the nerdier people, I guess. McDaniel is somewhat of a unique egg. Like he is his personality, his sense of humor, his sarcasm. He's very much one of a kind.
Even for a modern day NFL coach, he's unique. He's different. He's just a unique personality in general. He's a unique person in general. But I just like what it means for the Dolphins team. This is you think about it. The last time we had where we felt we had consistency at coach and consistency at quarterback, where those were both matched up together and we felt great about it, for me, was probably the mid-'90s. When were you born, Lewis?
1993.
Yeah, like right around. You were a baby in a crib the last time the Dolphins could look forward to the future and know our quarterback's this guy and he's really good, and our coach is this guy and he's really good. It's been a long time, man. We just need that. We need that consistency. We haven't had that in so long, and I personally am ready for, and I don't know what his contract looks like. I tried so hard to look it up to try and figure out what this man's contract is, but I guess GM contracts aren't easy to find, or I just don't know where to look. I'm ready for them to do the same thing with Greer, unless it's something that's already been done and we just don't know. I have no clue.
So, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw one article that says that Greer's contract is 1 less than McDaniel. So I think that his contract is up in 2027.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So you got a solid 3 there with the GM, who's put a lot of talent on this team. And I know people are like, oh, I don't like his offensive line philosophy. First of all, I don't think it's just his philosophy. I think it's also McDaniel's. Secondly, oh, we don't spend on OL. No, that is completely incorrect. We don't spend on guard. We spend on tackle. We spend on center. They are willing to invest in those positions, but they don't invest money on guard. That's it. We're not talking about offensive line. We're talking about guard. I believe that Greer has done a great job putting talent on this team. I believe he's done a great job with the coach, working in like a symbiosis to get McDaniel what he needs, make it make sense for the team, make it make sense for the cap. You know what I mean? And even though it's an offensive-minded coach, they have spent and done trades and worked to build both sides of the football. And I like that this coach is even though he seems like a fun guy that loves everybody, he's not afraid to make moves. Not afraid for a second to move on from a player that isn't getting it done. Not afraid for a second to move on from a coach that isn't getting it done. Not afraid for a second to make the tough call there. Not at all, for anybody who thinks he's just this wimpy little fun guy who won't do the right things. Remember, 2 years ago, even Chad was questioning, oh, will he get rid of the defensive coordinator? But I wonder if he will. Will he, will he be tough? Yes. McDaniel will make the tough decisions. He's not a rah-rah yell in your face, but he will make the tough decisions with the roster and especially with the coaching staff. And the guy is just taking a quarterback that most people had as a total bust, and now he's in charge of one of the best offenses in the NFL the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know what more. I mean, this guy, Tua came out of his shell and started playing good. What was that Baltimore game? Week 3, week 4?
I think it was like week 3, yeah.
Yeah. Like second half of that Baltimore game is when you saw all of a sudden whatever it was that McDaniel got to Tua and got in his head. You saw it click. You saw, oh, look at this.
This is what he can do.
Somebody with this guy. This is what he can do. This is what McDaniel can do. This is what McDaniel can bring out of Tua. This is what he can bring out of other players. And I know this sounds crazy. As great as Tyreek was in Kansas City, he's been better in Miami. He's been more productive in Miami than he even was in Kansas City. It just has. So when you've got the right people, you want to let them know. And that's what Ross and Greer did here. We know we have the right coach, even though the biggest mistake for me they could have made was to be like, let's wait around and see what he does this year, and then maybe we're going to fire you. No, that is the reason you're able to go get a Calais Campbell for $3 million or whatever it was we signed him for when other teams had offered him more is because of the culture Mike McDaniel has built. That comes purely from that culture that he's built. The reason why it's considered by the players the number one destination in the NFL is because of the culture that Mike McDaniel built, and he was able to break down what had happened in the Flores years and build it back up in like minutes, man. Minutes. Because he didn't force it. He has always been himself. He never tried to be anything he wasn't. He never tried to be somebody else because he got a head coaching spot. So now I got to be tough, or now I got to be mean, or now I got to be a jerk, or whatever it is that all the people that come out of the Belichick tree seem to think that you're supposed to do. McDaniel was never that. He came in and was only himself, the same guy that he was in San Fran and everywhere else he'd been. But and you got to be happy for a guy who had been through all the struggles, right? Mm-hmm. He talked about the 800 and something days that he was not in the NFL because of the personal choices he'd made and the struggle he'd had with alcoholism. That one day he just decided, enough of this. I need to do what's right for my family. I need to do what's right for me. And it just clicked. He knew what he needed to do, and he put the alcohol aside. He started putting in the work. Started coming into work early. Started leaving late. Decided to be a specialist in the run game. All the things we've all heard the story as Dolphin fan. We've heard those stories. And it's exciting to see a guy go from what happened to him not that long ago, but still several years ago, to this point now. It also shows to you and proof to you that even if you're somebody that hasn't done everything exactly how you were supposed to this point, no matter how old you are, you can get your act together, work hard, and make it happen. And that's what Mike McDaniel has done. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for the whole organization because we haven't had stability like this in the organization in decades, literally decades. And the wins are going to come from this, and the playoff wins are going to come from this. I truly believe that.
I'm going to throw something out there at you, Ron. People talk about Bill Belichick like he is the greatest head coach who ever lived. And obviously, as Dolphins fans, we're biased against that just strictly on a team-by-team basis. Yeah, but I'm not even going that direction with this. You could make the argument that even if Belichick won more Super Bowls, the one who's leaving much more of a legacy in his wake, the one who has made more of an impact on the game, much more than Belichick ever has and ever will, is Mike Shanahan. Because that man's coaching tree has grown to the point where it's like this massive oak tree, and there are just branches coming off in every direction, and it just keeps getting wider because even the coaches that have moved on and made their own coaches are finding success.
Yeah, because what he's done is what they call duplicatable, and what Belichick, whatever he was doing, the whole you guys suck. I'm gonna just do it all philosophy or whatever. It kind of seems that way to me. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it just kind of feels like that's what he would do. That guy is that's not something you could just go out and then repeat unless you have Bill Belichick. And that was the problem with Josh McDaniels and Flores and maybe even Bill O'Brien, who was clearly trying to do things the Belichick way because he was the GM, he was the coach, he was the everything.
They didn't have Tom Brady.
Found a way to make, and it feels like Flores probably wanted to do that too. Maybe, I mean, it seemed like he was trying to figure out his own way to get Watson on his own. I don't know what the dynamics were behind the scenes on that, but I like the way the GM and the coach work together to build the roster, and I love the culture that McDaniel has brought to the Miami Dolphins. It's something we haven't seen in so long, and we have seen success. I understand it's not quite the success we're looking for yet, but I promise you it's coming. It is coming, guys. Like, just be patient. Your patience probably about, you don't really have to be patient much longer because I believe it's coming this year, but it's coming.
Like, it's at the most, like, if you want to talk about an actual time frame, like, the Dolphins are going to make some serious waves within the next 3 years.
I think they're going to make serious waves this year.
Yeah, I agree with. I do agree with you. I agree with you on that. And even when Tyreek leaves, because eventually he will, like, guaranteed money notwithstanding, eventually he's going to slow down. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as soon as people think, but he is eventually going to slow down. They will eventually move on from him, but they still have a core there. That's Jalen Waddle. They're hoping that something comes out of Malik Washington. Yeah, they're hoping that they're already setting up the building blocks for the next several years.
And they know how to identify talent that they want. As far as the offensive side of the ball goes, they know how to identify wide receiver talent, and they definitely know how to identify running back talent clearly. And I feel like they know what they're looking for. McDaniel knows what he's looking for. He works hard with Greer, and Greer works to get him those guys, but knows when he can get them, right?
I remember the Devon A. Chain
sulky,
thing. It's like,
right? We see the
McDaniel was all pissy. It's like, well, you didn't get the guy that I wanted.
Yeah, his feet up on the desk, looking at his phone, unhappy that he didn't draft Achane, and then he got Achane the next round because Greer is a very, very excellent GM. I know that some people want to disagree. Those people are wrong.
Listen, that offensive line thing, bro. That's
the guards.
The
guards.
Just evaluation in general. Evaluation in general, because they drafted Eichenberg and
the guard situation. Yeah. So anyway, I think that I know that McDaniel knows how to identify talent that's going to be able to replace. Now, you'll never find another Tyreek, not likely, but they'll have the talent on the team that not having Tyreek, it'll be okay when that time comes. But we don't have to worry about. At least we don't have to worry about that right now.
Yeah. So, for everybody who's listening to this and is wondering where does Miami go from here, I would say that they're going into the present, they're going into the future, man. Like, these guys have everything they need now to make serious waves into the playoffs. All they have to do, and this is the hard part, and I feel like this is league wide. This is not just the Dolphins. I know it feels like it because all we really focus on is the Dolphins, but this is league wide. All we really have to do is stay healthy. And for some reason, that's just so painfully hard to do.
Yeah, that seems to be a real challenge for Miami. Just bad luck, I guess. But, and some of it they did to themselves. Sometimes some of these players they bring on, like you brought on OBJ, and apparently they already knew there was something, an injury going on there that he was working through, and thought that maybe he even wouldn't be ready for
There's some procedure that he went through.
The Craycraft thing was bad luck. Right,
Yeah, I mean, Craycraft has been pretty solid, all things considered. Like, he's missed a couple games.
The Brewer thing, that guy's never missed time. Now, I know he still might play the week one, but that's real bad luck. That wasn't a situation where they got an injured guy. The Armstead thing, yeah, that guy's never finished the season, or never. I wouldn't say never finished the season.
He's never
played 17 games or 16 games in a season. So some of those decisions they have done to themselves a little bit, and they need to kind of, maybe take another look at that, but and see if that philosophy is the philosophy they want to continue with. Beyond that, I have like no complaints, honestly. I would have really liked to have seen them try to keep Wilkins around, but I understand why it would have been tough to do, and I get the whole new defensive philosophy and having multiple guys. That's the way they wanted to go, and didn't want to soak up all the money in one one defensive tackle as good as Wilkins is.
Yep. And so they're setting the building blocks. Listen, Patrick Paul is going to be the successor to Teron Armstead. He's going to learn from Armstead in the meantime. He's already shown promise. There is promise there. It's just that, again, he's so raw that they really have to make sure that they teach this kid from the ground up.
Consistent coaching, too. I mean, because McDaniel's going to be here for several more years. So he's
I
going to
bet
have
you
the same
anything.
Coaching. I'll bet you Butch Berry sticks around the whole time, too. Bet you they
Maybe
keep Butch
so.
Berry around.
I was going to say that I bet you anything, because we had heard that even the locker room is very meticulously chosen. I bet you anything that Ron Armstead and Patrick Paul have lockers next to each other.
McDaniel, yeah, I know we said that McDaniel went through and put the players next to each other specifically for whatever reason he felt like he wanted them next to each other, and we don't know all the reasons, but yeah, we do know that even the players and where they are in the locker room is he does everything with purpose and intent. He does nothing by chance or by luck. Now, sometimes you got to get a little lucky, too. I mean, that's the NFL. You got to get a little lucky sometimes, right? So sometimes things will work out of a little bit of luck, but he doesn't do anything hoping for luck, right? He, we don't hope, we plan. That seems to be the way McDaniel is. Puts in the work, puts in the time. I know that most NFL coaches do, head coaches especially do, but he really does. He really does. He really is fully 100% committed his life to this team and to this organization, and I love to see him get rewarded for it. I'm really excited because I got to be honest with you, man. Eventually one day it'll be a rebuild at some point in my life, right? Because I mean at some point, yeah, hopefully we'll be around a long time. I'm only 48.
It took over 20 years for New England to finally fall apart. So.
Yeah, but I couldn't go through in the next year or two another start over, new coach, new court. I just couldn't do it, man. I just don't have it in me. Not for a while. I really needed this more than anybody, to be honest.
I'm sure, listen, Ron, we say that, but I'm sure that if it did happen, we would still end up doing this show at some point saying, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next with the Dolphins? We're going to gripe. We're going to moan. We're going to be upset about it. But fortunately, that alternate universe has not come to pass, or at the very least, it's somewhere in Earth 56 somewhere where it's not our problem. So
yeah, exactly.
All right. We're going to go ahead and call it here. We thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, I do want to try to do more Fins Nations in the future. Just so much work to be done. Like, real talk, real life. It tends to take up time. So we're going to try to do this more. But in the meantime, once again, go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. Put a $5 bet in. You get $50 in promotional funds for you to continue to do so. There's just so much stuff going on. Like, the news is just coming in rapid fire. And there's going to be even more because the season is actually going to be starting in about a week and a half. It's just actually no, it's a week and a half, right? Because not next week, it's the week after.
Yep.
No, it's this upcoming week.
No, we're the show
September 8th.
The Pulse of Fins Nation we do this coming Tuesday will be the week 1 preview game. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about my fantasy team, right? Tua. I got Tua. I got Tua too. I waited. I got to wait. So I'm in a 14-team league. So tough. Yeah, so the only big-time Dolphin I didn't draft that I really could have that would have made sense is I didn't draft Tyreek. I took CeeDee Lamb instead. I had the number 2
Wait, did you have the option of Tyreek?
Yeah, I could have taken CeeDee Lamb or
Bro!
But here's why.
Tyreek and Tua almost won me my league last year. Yeah,
but I knew I was going to be in on Tua, and I knew I was going to be in on HN because I knew he was way undervalued in fantasy. So he's way undervalued in fantasy, in my opinion. So I didn't want to have Tyreek, NHN, and Tua too much. And then in the very last round, I grabbed Jonnu because they got that dude. ESPN had that dude like not even draftable. Seriously, not even draftable. They're not paying attention. Like, talk about, like, I don't know who's running because our league does ESPN. I think they suck anyway. I don't know who now that everybody is gone. Matthew Berry and all these guys, Pod Vader. Well, Pod Vader hadn't been on ESPN forever, but all these, whoever's doing the fantasy now at ESPN, man, I'm telling you right now, if you're a fantasy person, do not listen to any of these people. Who's ever creating these rankings, these are the most terrible rankings I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah, I saw how low Tua was. Jonnu Smith was almost off the board,
dude,
man.
Yes,
like,
are you
serious?
He was like, they had him as not even draftable in a 14-team league. He literally was like, below, if you drafted 200 and whatever players it was in our league, he was literally below that. I mean, like, come on, bro. Like, you guys are, that means they're not paying attention to anything. They're not listening to camp reports. They're not in tune with it. But anyway, I was excited. This will be the first time I've had Tua. This will be the first time I've ever had the Miami Dolphins quarterback starting on my fantasy team to start
On
week
purpose.
one. Yeah, on purpose, and not, oh my God, I got to get somebody. I'm desperate. First time ever. I'm super pumped about that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in too. It had nothing to do with what we were talking about, but I wanted to throw it in.
All right, folks. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time, and I hope you enjoy.